Hi folks, today I'm going to try and expand a little bit on some of the points that I touched on under the flashlights basics video. In particular, the terms wattage or watt, lumens, candela and lux, and try and explain in as easily as possible how those or what those things mean, and then demonstrate it a little bit later on when it's gone dark with some torches. So in the UK we seem to be everybody's orientated around the term wattage. An example of that would be that this particular torch here that I picked up at the supermarket, and it says on the side 3 watts, as does this particular light bulb. That's a fairly impressive 200 watts incandescent, so the filament type bulb, the old type bulb that we were used to. The problem is with the term wattage is it has no bearing on the output. A wattage is a measure of power consumption, and from that power consumption we would draw an inference as to what the likely output of a bulb or torch would be. So jumping back to this one here, rated at 200 watts, we would imagine that when you plug that one in, it's going to be a fairly impressive output. It's got a little bit more complicated than that now with, and again, using this one as an example, an LED light bulb, and what they've had to do there to try and clarify it for us, I don't know whether you can see it on there, it's saying 14.5 watts and then 100 watts above it, and what they're trying to say there is that this particular light bulb, although it only requires 14.5 watts to run, because it's an LED that is much more efficient than the old incandescent type bulbs, it's actually going to put out light equivalent to 100 watts using the old language, if you like. They've even been kind enough to put a lumens output for us on there. Now, what this particular one, or this measurement here, is that how much light is output per watt, and that's lumen efficiency. So what we're looking for with LEDs is the minimum amount of wattage with the maximum amount of output, lumen efficiency. So that leads us nicely onto lumens, and I've used this particular picture before. A lumen is the amount of light that is radiated from a particular source, i.e. a light bulb, or a bulb in a torch, or an LED in a torch, or an LED in a light bulb. The term lumen doesn't describe to us how that particular amount of light is going to be used. I suppose much like a garden hose, you know, is it on sprinkler mode, or have you got it on jet mode? So in actual fact, the two other factors that become much more important is the candela and the lux. And what the candela is the intensity of the beam, but what we actually see is lux. That is all that we're really interested in. Obviously the lux is affected by these two factors, but this is the most important thing. You mustn't be driven by lumens. So as an example of that, and what I'll be showing you later on is these 3 particular torches. The Rofis MR70, which I did a review on the other night, which is a orange peel type reflector with one of the highest power available Cree LEDs available at the moment, the XHP 70.2, and this particular torch here has got a rather impressive, let me root round for a reminder on that, a rather impressive highest output of 3,500 lumens, but that gets hot, hence it starts to drop. So we've got a 3,500 lumen torch there, and we're going to put that up against a couple of olides. This particular one here, the MS20SX, and the M2X UT. And what we will be just demonstrating with these torches later on when it gets dark is the relationship between these factors. So your MR20 is a thrower, that's beg your pardon, is a floodder. So that is going to be leaning much more towards the sort of shotgun effect with the light. It's going to be thrown all over the place, which in the right circumstances may be what you want. However, when we look at something like the M2X, and we have a look at the specifications and that, oh, it's only 1000 lumens. It's less than a third. But we'll see how that compares, because the M2, what they've done with that one, if we have a look, it's got a smooth reflector. The reflector is also considerably larger than the Rofus. Now, we've already established that the Rofus is on paper putting out 3 times the power, which indeed it is, the lumens output. But what does it do with those lumens? And that's why I've picked this one to go to perhaps the opposite end of the scale, if you like, to the Rofus, a larger reflector, much larger and more effective heat sinking, a smooth reflector, and a de-domed LED. Now, no, I don't think we can see it too well there, but let me just show you a picture of 2 LEDs. This particular one here, the LED itself at the bottom, and then the dome on top. And on the left we have a D-dode, which is the same LED, and all they've essentially done is removed whatever material that is. That doming effect has been removed, and the effect that has on the LED itself is this rather rough example here of this will be a domed LED, and the light is sent off in a fairly even distribution across the band of the beam itself, whereas a de-domed LED concentrates its light much more centrally, but loses roughly 30% of its overall output. So if you've got exactly the same LED, de-domed it, the lumen rating will be lower, but you would get this lighting effect similar to that, which, jumping back to this particular example here, we're going to increase the intensity of the beam, the candela, which in turn is going to increase what we see, which is the lux. And using the M2X again as an example, Olight have exaggerated, emphasised, whatever we want to call it, or built upon the de-domed LED with the effect that I've shown you, with the larger reflector and the smooth reflector, and that's going to totally distort what we see with our eyes. So instead of just looking at the lumens, this one at 1000 and this one at 3000, what we actually see is going to be completely different than just simply saying, oh, this one's 3000 lumens and that one's 1000. I'll be throwing in the mix as well the M20SX Olight. This one again has a smooth reflector with a de-domed LED in there. I'm going to throw this one in as well because it's considerably smaller. So this will show us the difference between a large reflector, a smaller reflector, but a smaller reflector keeping the same principle of a de-domed LED with a smooth reflector. So what we're going to get there is a pretty good comparison as to what you're likely to get from the size of these torches versus the way in which they're designed. And this one is again rated, I say only at 1000 lumens. So we'll take them out later and we will show, or I will demonstrate, how these actually perform and what we actually see, forgetting what the lumens output is supposed to be. And I'll show you the qualities and disadvantages and advantages of each 3 of these for comparison. Hi folks, we're going to start off with the Rofus, and I've deliberately brought this to, I'll just pop it onto turbo. I've deliberately brought this to a spot that demonstrates the use of lumens, if you like. This is a 3200 lumen light, and as you can see, with its orange peel reflector and its XHP 70 emitter, it is really throwing out the power, the lumens, and it's illuminating everything within a very short distance, including the rain, which is just fantastic. But looking towards the end of that path, it's not kind of doing it, is it? It's not cutting through, and it can only hold this power for about a minute. Now, I'm not criticising the Rofus torch. It's doing exactly what it's designed to do, which is throw out the maximum amount of light and illuminating the immediate area, doing a wonderful job. And the lux rating, close up, lux being the visible light, is quite good, because those lumens being scattered are hitting all manner of things and coming back to my eye, which I can see, hence the lux. The candela rating, the intensity of the beam, is very low. So looking down towards the end of the path there, that black hole that you can see, we can't see down it, because the lux rating now is insufficient down on that distance due to the scattering of the beam. But I say, I put the Rofus in its best kind of environment here. So we'll switch this one off and we'll turn over to a different model. Hi folks, now we've just switched over to the Olight M20, and as you can see, it doesn't appear to be as impressive as the Rofus is, and indeed it isn't. I deliberately put the Rofus in a kind of environment where it will perform the best in terms of scattering its light, you know, kind of all over the shop, all around me. Whereas this, the Olight M20, bear in mind this is only 850 lumens. I think I said 1000 in the video earlier on, but it's 850 lumens. The candela rating is considerably higher at anything other than close range. So as I move out the distance and start looking down the path there, way beyond 100 metres, the beam is much more concentrated. That's the candela, and therefore the lux, so the lux being the visible impression that I can see, is much more impressive as we stretch the distance. Bear in mind that the M20 is a much smaller torch than the Rofus, and it will hold its high power rating, 820 lumens, so long as you've got a battery to run it. The Rofus can only hold its maximum power for 1 minute. This little chap will be running at full power all the time I'm out with these, but no problem whatsoever. Now we'll switch over to the other low light, bear with me. So now we've got the M2 with the de-domed LED on it, and as you can see now the camera's having trouble adapting to this because it's picking up the central spot, which is really bright, and it's not showing up the peripheral. It is there, not too bad there, but it's not showing up the peripheral spill quite as well as it is to my eye. And as we can see, this is just a step up now from the previous Olight, and that this beam is much more concentrated, and we're still only on 1000 lumens. Now, I don't know whether you noticed when we were looking at the Rofus, that was a black hole down there, we couldn't see it. So this 1000 lumen light and the 800 lumen light before it, in certain circumstances, will outperform, way outperform, as you can see this one is, the Rofus at 3200 lumens. That's not a criticism of the Rofus, because I was asking the Rofus to do something it wasn't designed to do. The Rofus is designed to throw the light all around me and provide maximum lumens in a scattered pattern and illuminate all of these trees and whatever evenly, and it looked pretty impressive on the camera. Now I'm putting the Olight in its favour by shining down the path, and I'm relying on its candela, and thus what can I see with my eye? The lux. And I'm not sure the camera's showing it up particularly well, but hopefully you can see that black hole way in the distance there is no longer a black hole. So the lux on this Olight M2 is significantly higher at that particular distance than the Rofus is. Now, I mentioned earlier on I put myself in a position here that advantaged the Rofus, and we're playing catch up a little bit, aren't we, to demonstrate the candela here. Now I'm going to move somewhere else where I'm going to put the Rofus at a disadvantage and reverse the situation. Okay folks, so let's try the Rofus now, and a situation that's going to show its limitations, if you like. And again, I emphasise, I don't mean any unfairness to this particular torch, but I've deliberately come to a place, the usual place, that will kind of start to show the disadvantage of one particular design, because I'm asking it to do now what it's not designed to do, which is illuminate that bank over there at 100 metres. Now I'm on high mode at sort of 1500 lumens here. If I jump up to turbo at the 3000 plus, then it does it. And it produces a reasonable blanket of light, but we're very much kind of at the limit there as we start to increase the distance in particular. Yeah, you can't really see. We're going out to about 150 now there to the corner of the lake. We can't see that. We've got to come back here to around the 100 metres. And it's doing okay. But it can only do that for 1 minute, and it needs 3000 odd lumens to do it. So let me just pause for a second and switch over. Okay, now we've got the Olight M20. At that kind of 100 metres distance there, it's easily beating the Rofus on its high setting and probably equaling the Rofus on its turbo setting. But bearing in mind now, this Olight here, this is not going to get hot. It will hold this setting. It's only 820 lumens. It will hold it for over an hour. And because of the beam intensity, the Candela, keep on saying that, sorry, it performs the same at that given distance on a slightly smaller spot, yes, but it's now that this particular torch is doing what it's designed to do, which is provide us with a low power torch, 820 lumens, but still with really good performance. Let's take it out to that farthest distance there that the Rofus struggled with. The Olight's doing it, not showing too well on the camera, but yeah, it's doing that. That's going out to about 150 metres. It's not a particularly dark night tonight, so the M20's creeping ahead. Okay, let me pause and switch. So now we've got the UT Javelot, the Olight. I don't think the camera's doing this justice now. That was the area in which the Rofus on turbo was lighting up. This is far brighter now at a given point. This beam is just so concentrated and cutting through. 1000 lumens, not 3000, just 1000. Again, this torch runs the same as the previous Olight. It'll run cool. It'll run for over an hour. It won't step down. And as I start to increase the distance, if you remember the other two, the Rofus and the earlier Olight, they just couldn't do it. This one here, yeah, well, that's just absolutely smashing that distance, 150 metres. It's going to go a lot further than that. I just haven't got anything that far at the moment to show you. So hopefully by looking at these torches, we've got a demonstration of lumens, Candela, and this final demonstration here of how Candela equates into lux. Because that distance there, the lux at that particular point at 150 metres on this particular torch that I'm looking at far outseeds the previous two. And in particular the Rofus, again no criticism to the Rofus. The Rofus at 3 times the power had next to no lux at that distance, whereas this low powered Olight, the lux at that distance is phenomenal. This is like a little mini searchlight. It's really impressive, and there is a satisfactory. So my dog's just barking at something there, and you know, you heard that my dog just barked at something. And this is the advantage of the high Candela torches, that they provide the lux at the distance that you want. Don't know what's down that path there, but there's something down there. But this particular torch here, I mean, it just cuts straight down, absolutely straight down that path. And there is something down there. I don't know what it is. It's probably a fox or something. Out with these two that are going to warn me whatever it is, but probably a werewolf. Yeah, so I think I've demonstrated, hopefully, lumens, Candela, and the all-important thing in my very humble opinion is lux. Thanks, guys. I do apologise, I'm just jumped back into the video. I've just said thanks guys, and I forgot one thing. The little 3 watt light that we looked at earlier on, that I've now got with me. In fact, let's just shine it down that path there where we shine the O-light, where my dog was barking. Or whatever it is, if anything that's down there, this torch is not capable of seeing it. It's pretty there. Looking across the lake, a bit of a waste of time really. I mean, I think these things are what, £10 or something, £5–10. This one was from Lidl. It's okay, but yeah, that's why we don't buy unbranded 3 watt torches that you know, pitiful, absolutely pitiful. Okay guys, so I'm back in now from the rain, soaking wet through with wet dogs. So to summarise, and I'll probably mention the Rofist first, with its 3,500 lumens. Okay, but as we saw, that was good at close range. And when I was referring to the Candela, now we can have a look and see that the Candela, or the intensity, 15,390. Okay, let's have a look at the M20. Candela, where are we? 34,200. Just over double. And I think that was demonstrated, wasn't it, on the video? So looking at those two, we say, well, which light is more powerful? Well, if we're looking at lumens, this one obviously, and those lumens creating that kind of shotgun output, which is what the torch is designed to do, which is shown then by its Candela, its intensity. What that means to us in practice is light that is thrown out at the end of a torch has to hit something to come back and then be visible to your eye, doesn't it? And as we saw, I put the torches in favourable and disfavourable conditions, depending on what it was I was trying to, or the point that I was trying to make. Which brings us to the M2X. 164,000 Candela. Hang on, 164,000, 15,000. So which torch is more powerful? Well, lumens, this one. Candela, this one. But they're completely different, as we saw on the video. So the point is, when you're looking at the specifications, look at the lumens, look at the Candela. Those two things, and the design of the torch, of course, de-domed LEDs, orange peel reflectors, things like that, all those will tell you the all-important thing, which is lux. What do I actually see with that torch? Which is, after all, what we're actually wanting to use them for, isn't it? What can I see? And a kind of honourable mention to the 3 watt LED, which, as we saw, was, well, it's just useless really in comparison with the others. So I'll wrap up at that and do a little bit of a video edit and try and put all these clips together. Thank you very much.